I really like zombies, or I should say the stories that zombies create. Some of my favorite horror movies or stories involve zombies. Shaun of the Dead, Epidemiology from Community, Scarioki from Gravity Falls, and of course, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I wanted to look for even more zombie stories though, and found two great comic runs, DCeased and Marvel Zombies. Both are great stories I think, but go for very different things in a zombie setting, and I wanted to talk about those differences and how they affect the story. I should also mention that I'm only going to be focusing on the original miniseries for these two series, so no sequels, even though I really enjoy those. First, I wanted to start with DCeased. The zombie virus in this story is the anti-life virus, and is created by Darkseid on Apocalypse when he solves the anti-life equation with the help of a captured cyborg. From here, Cyborg, who's carrying the virus but isn't feeling the effects, is sent to Earth and spreads the virus across all digital screens. From there, anyone that looks at a digital screen or is scratched by someone infected becomes infected and works only to spread death across the universe. The main story focuses on the first few days of this apocalypse and follows a group of survivors including Superman, Wonder Woman, Damian Wayne, Black Canary, Lois Lane, and many more. We also see infected versions of some of our favorite heroes, and we see how much of a threat they would pose with no control over themselves. One of my favorite infected versions of someone we see is Aquaman, because he provides for one of the coolest moments in the series, but I refuse to spoil it because it's just that awesome. The series also provides for some really interesting scenarios that could only happen in an alternate universe. For example, someone gets a Green Lantern ring that wouldn't otherwise be a Green Lantern, and this allows for some really cool scenes and interactions. The series can get really emotional at times though, as we see the heroes realize that some of their closest colleagues are now infected, or directly see someone close to them get infected. This can also go to show you the importance of certain characters in others' lives, and how hard it is to lose them. These are situations that we don't really see these heroes get into anywhere else, which makes this series even more unique. DCeased's art from Trevor Hairston is also really well done and does a really good job at depicting the horror of the zombies. All the infected have scratches all over their face and pure red eyes, so it creates a really intimidating design for them. As a whole, DCeased really works for me. I think Tom Taylor does a really good job writing it, and his characterization of these characters in an apocalypse scenario is extremely well done. There are some comedic beats from time to time, and he hits those just as well as the emotional parts. I definitely recommend you read it if you haven't. On to Marvel Zombies now, which is a very strange book, to say the least. While DCeased focuses on the survivors of the zombie apocalypse, Marvel Zombies focuses on the zombies, which are most of the Marvel characters. This series does them very differently though, because the heroes retain their personalities and intelligence, but can't resist the hunger, which is a feeling that takes them over and forces them to eat. This sounds weird, and trust me it is, but it's really interesting. For example, Spider-Man reacts incredibly badly to what he does, and deeply regrets everything he's doing, while someone like Hank Pym thinks of it from a purely logical standpoint, and thinks that if they want to keep living, they have to continue on with their zombie habits. Then there's Captain America, who retains his leadership skills, even though he's using them for very morbid purposes, and Wolverine keeps his ferocity, but it's somehow even more brutal. If I had to place a genre on this book, I'd probably say it's a really dark horror comedy. We see the zombie heroes bicker about finding food and who they're going to eat, and the zombies suffer injuries that would usually be fatal, but are almost always used for a joke. The darkness, though, is really prevalent, especially with the actions of Hank Pym in the book, which I don't want to spoil, but it's just, wow. This book has the chance to not work very well, but honestly the jokes are pretty funny and mixes with the darkness in a good way. That's definitely because of the writer, Robert Kirkman, known for books like The Walking Dead, Invincible, and one of my personal favorites, The Irredeemable Ant-Man. He's really good at showing the characters of the Marvel Universe if they were zombies, to the point where it's almost crazy how well done it is. The main character that comes to mind is Spider-Man, because I think it's a lot like how he would actually act if he was forced to eat others. Kirkman is just that good of a writer. Marvel Zombies also has some really great art, especially in its covers by Arthur Sweetum, which are replicas of classic Marvel Comics covers, but with a zombie twist to it. My personal favorite from the first series is issue 4, which is a pastiche of X-Men #1. I especially like the zombie Cyclops. The comic itself has some really great art too by Sean Phillips, and is good at depicting the heroes as grotesque zombies and showing the imperfections they have. Especially as the comic goes on and the zombies experience more serious injuries, the art does a really good job of showing it. Altogether, it makes a really good comic, but I think it just might not be my thing. There are a lot of great parts about it that I do really enjoy, and I see the quality in other places, but I don't know, it just isn't my thing. So when comparing the two, I prefer DCeased, but Marvel Zombies is still a really well-made comic. They both do the zombie genre really well, and each in their own unique way, which makes it even better. What makes DCeased better for me, though, is that we focus on the survivors, and that's what makes a zombie apocalypse, for me at least. I also think that because we focus on the survivors, we get to see the superpowered zombies as more of a threat, and it makes them more scary. I think it gets the tone right too, where it's darker but still has slight comedic elements. Marvel Zombies does that too, but leans into comedy more than darkness. It's still really good, and you should definitely check it out, but ultimately, I prefer DCeased. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while, it's just been a really busy couple weeks. Please like and subscribe though, and I hope to get another video up by the end of the month. But yeah, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.